Okay, today we're breaking down an entire line of paddles from a company out in Arizona called Crush. This is their freestyle paddle, which is an aggressive all court. This is their crazy long RQT paddle, and it's actually pronounced racket, and it's aimed for tennis players. And this is the Fearless, which is aimed at kids, but is actually a super solid beginner paddle. And all of these paddles are very competitively priced, and we're going to dive into all the nitty-gritty. But first, I wanted to let you know I'm working on a video of my favorite pickleball accessories, so be sure to subscribe because you really won't want to miss that. If you want a sneak peek, I've got a list down in the video description of a lot of the gear I've been testing out, so don't be afraid to click around. On top of that, I've now put together a list of some of my favorite pickleball gear you can find on Amazon, and there's some real hidden gems in there for anyone craving to add something to their bag right away. And now let's talk specs. I want to start with probably my favorite of the bunch, the Freestyle. This is a 60mm paddle. Its face is raw carbon fiber, it's a hybrid, it's thermoform unibody, so it's a Gen 2 paddle, and it has a traditional polypropylene core. The dimensions are 16.3 by 7.44 inches. The grip length is 5.25 inches, the grip circumference is 4.25 inches, the average weight is 7.8 ounces, and it does include a nice neoprene paddle cover, and there is a 6-month manufacturing defects warranty, and the price is $127.45 after promo code MatthewK knocks off 15%. And this paddle is USAP approved. Okay, this paddle is actually the one that got Crush on my radar in the first place. I saw this advertised on social media quite a bit earlier this year, and I thought it was super sleek looking paddle with a unique shape that I hadn't really seen before. However, I never really had a chance to try it out because I never saw one at Open Play out here in Los Angeles. But then one day someone, I think she was from Texas, was visiting and was at Open Play at my regular court. Shout out to Wendy if you're watching. And she couldn't rave enough about Crush and the freestyle paddle in particular. She let me hit around with it a bit, and I agreed with her that it was super well balanced paddle that felt really good in the hands. And that made me want to get one even more to test out. It still took a while, but it finally happened. And I've really enjoyed testing this paddle out. It's a super solid all-court option that plays quick in the hands while being super forgiving and controllable. It's up there with the best in this category. The Vatic Pro Flash in 16mm, Honolulu's OG J2, and 6-0's Double Black Diamond. The surface gives you plenty of spin and grab to place and target, and then the pop and power are very solid for an all-court. And it's just a great all-around paddle for someone that wants a paddle that really threads the needle between control and power. These days, so many paddles are either straight up control with fat bodies that can't cut through the air very fast, or power paddles that sometimes take as much concentration as the SATs to keep under control. And so I super appreciate that Crush has created a true all-court with the Freestyle. Also, I should note that Crush has this paddle in a few different colors now, which is always nice to see. As for value, I think $127.45 after promo code MatthewK makes it super competitive. And unlike some of the all courts you can find on Amazon or at big box retailers, this one has that nice 6-month warranty, which I think is a big differentiator between paddle companies and companies pushing out paddles. But Crush isn't a one paddle company. They recently came out with this bad boy here. This is their RQT paddle, or their racket, and it's supposed to be geared for tennis folks that like super long handles. So let's talk about it. It's a 60mm paddle. Its face is Toray 700 raw carbon fiber. It's extra elongated. It's thermoformed and unibody, so it's a Gen 2 paddle, and it has a traditional polypropylene core. The dimensions are a whopping 17 by 7 inches, and that's the maximum allowable standard by USAP. The grip length is a huge 6.5 inches. The grip circumference is 4.25 inches. The average weight is 7.7 ounces, and the advertised swing weight is 125. Also, instead of a typical neoprene paddle cover, the racket comes with a custom paddle cover that has a throwback look that really fits the retro tennis vibe of this quote-unquote racket. It's a really nice touch. Not many companies do custom covers for individual paddles, so it's always a nice surprise. And then of course there's Crush's 6-month manufacturing defects warranty, and the price is $135.95 after you use promo code MatthewK for a 15% discount. Okay, this paddle is super unique. It's a total of 17 inches long, and that's the maximum length allowed by USAP to still be tournament legal. The only other paddle I know that's this long is Pickleball Ape's ProLine Energy and their new Pulse E, which has the same body as the ProLine Energy but with a different build. However, the bottom of Crush's racket's face actually flares out sooner than the Apes paddle, so you get an even longer handle with a little bit smaller of a face, which presumably will cut through the air a bit quicker. This blade style paddle used to be more common, but kind of fell out of fashion with Gen 2 paddles. My guess is lots of Gen 2 paddles were heavier compared to Gen 1 paddles when thermoforming first came to the scene, so I think companies prioritize smaller silhouettes to allow for quicker hand speed and then to also compensate for the heavier weight of most Gen 2 paddles. However, the racket has a static weight of only 7.7 ounces, which is very light for a Gen 2 paddle. So Crush is definitely doing something unique with their weighting, and for how long this paddle is, it really doesn't feel sluggish at all. And that brings me to how this paddle performs. More than anything, the racket is just fun to play with. Its design lets you be super whippy with that long handle, as well as super comfortable for folks that have two-handers. Also, that super elongated design lets you have some massive plow through to really get some powerful drives from the baseline. You really do have all the power of that advertised 125 swing weight, but because of the lighter static weight, it feels much quicker in the hands in my opinion. And since this paddle's targeted at tennis players, there really isn't as big of a need to have a weighted up head with a super wide sweet spot, since most tennis folks are pretty accurate with their hits. Also, whatever they've done design-wise makes this paddle feel a little more muted than their freestyle paddle I talked about before. The racket isn't quite as poppy as its little brother, and it's got a good amount of dwell time off the face. That combined with the grippy Toray carbon fiber surface the racket's using, and you've got a weapon that really lets you add spin, target, and place your shots however you want. Ultimately, this paddle is a great choice for someone with a tennis background that wants a ton of real estate on their handle for two-handers, whips, and super extended reach that will make overheads a breeze. And it performs really, really well. If you've got your mechanics down, you can rip balls from the baseline all day long, and that muted face also lets you have a super controlled dinking game up at the net. While this paddle is super unusual, it checks a ton of boxes when it comes to performance. As for value, the only other paddle that I know of that comes close to the racket's design is the Pro Line Energy from Pickleball Apes and their new Pulse E. And after promo code Matthew K, the racket from Crush is the same price as the Pro Line Energy after discount code, and about $45 less than Ape's new Pulse E after discount code. So I definitely think this is a good deal for someone hunting for this unique style of paddle. And now that brings me to the last Crush paddle I'll be covering today, and this is called the Fearless. It's a 14mm paddle, it has a raw carbon fiber face, and while it's advertised as hybrid, it's closer to a wide body based off its dimensions. It is a cold press paddle, but it is unibody. So it's a Gen 1 paddle and it has a traditional polypropylene core. The dimensions are 15.6 by 7.95 inches. The grip length is 5 inches. I believe the grip circumference is around 4.25 inches. The average weight is 7.9 ounces. And it does include a neoprene paddle cover, and it has that same 6-month manufacturing defects warranty. As for price, this one is only $76.45 after you use promo code MatthewK for a 15% discount, and this is USAP approved. Also, I should note, Crush said you will receive a free hat if you purchase this paddle using my code. Okay, this paddle is actually a lot of fun. I think Gen 1 14mm paddles are oftentimes super underrated. I think they make great starter paddles that you can play with for a long time and stay competitive even as you get into more advanced games. However, this particular iteration of the Fearless seems like it's being discontinued by Crush and is being replaced with the same paddle or one that's super similar but now branded as a full-on youth paddle tied to the pro player Benny Bombs. So it now has a busier face that's presumably more appealing to kids. That being said, this wide body is a really solid performer that gives you everything you need to be a control-oriented player. It's great at drops and resets. Its massive face is a shield up against bangers. The raw carbon fiber surface on the one I tested has plenty of spin and grab, and that cold press construction gives you very good dwell time, while that 14mm build still gives you enough pop to have solid counters whenever you want to shut a point down. I really do think this particular paddle recipe and style is super underrated, and I think it's the kind of paddle folks should turn to when they're starting out in pickleball. I think too many people get paddles that are way too hot when they first start out, and they make rec play pretty tricky when you're doing random doubles. Those pop-ups are no fun when it's your partner doing them. As for value, $76.45 after promo code MatthewK knocks off that 15% is a very good deal. And unlike all the random Amazon paddles geared for beginners, you know you're getting something high quality from Crush that's also backed by that 6-month warranty. Also, if you use my code, I believe Crush will be including a free hat as well for the new youth version of this paddle, so just more reason to pull the trigger. And before I wrap up, I wanted to talk a bit about today's featured accessory. Today's accessory is a little different. This is a mini training pickleball from a small company called Bzer. Here it is next to a normal size pickleball. And this is one of the most fun training aids I've ever used. The idea is to warm up or drill with these tiny balls to really work your hand-eye coordination, and they really do work. If you dink around with this before a game, the normal pickleball practically looks and feels like a giant beach ball once you start playing a game. And that feeling is super nice. It's like you have a superpower all of a sudden. Also, a lot of companies are putting out seemingly similar products. I won't mention which ones, but it seems there are a few paddle companies trying to push another kind of tiny training ball as an add-on purchase. However, those that you see from paddle companies and elsewhere are completely different from Bzer's. From what I can tell, those companies are just selling really overpriced, rebranded practice driving balls that golfers use. You can get tons of those super cheap on Amazon if that's what you want, and I'll leave a link in the description in case you're curious. However, I think those kinds of balls are terrible for pickleball. They're super hard and have absolutely no give to them, and I'm genuinely worried they might nick the paddle face if I was ever to get aggressive with my hits. However, that's not what Bzer's balls are like at all. Their balls are soft rubber that have a bounce very similar to a traditional pickleball, and they don't seem like they could damage anything. Also, Bzer has a patent pending on these, so I don't think you're ever going to find ones like this anywhere else. And trust me, I've searched. As for value, you can get a pack of 3 for 18 bucks if you order directly from Bzer's site and use promo code MatthewK to knock off 10%. And I believe shipping is included at that price. You can also purchase them directly on Amazon for 22 bucks for the 3-pack at the moment, but my promo code won't work there. All that being said, I really do think these are a ton of fun to play with and super helpful, and I would highly recommend them. And Bzer also has their own training paddles as well, and these things are heavy duty in case you want to check them out. I believe all of Bzer's products are well worth the price and would also make great gifts. I'll be sure to leave links in the description in case you want to check them out, and don't forget to use promo code MatthewK for that discount. As for Crush, I think they're definitely a company to watch, and they have a super fun line of paddles already. I'm excited to see what they do next. And I think the racket in particular is an incredibly unique paddle that might be the perfect choice for a tennis to pickleball convert. Also, if you found this review helpful, please consider using promo code MatthewK on your next paddle purchase. I have a lot of the popular brands listed below, and my master list has even more. I'll be sure to leave a link for Crush's site at the very top. Don't forget to use promo code MatthewK for that 15% discount. You can also support the channel by purchasing some of the cool pickleball gear I've been testing out by using the links and codes in the video description below. I also have a link to my favorite pickleball gear you can get on Amazon as well, and that's got some hidden gems in there. And then of course, hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and slamming that notification bell all go a long way to helping me out as well. Thank you so much for the support. But most importantly, I hope you get to pickle soon, and just don't forget, it's about having fun.